Episode 101 of the Hook Podcast. We are back and better than ever. Man, Kev, it's been so much fun to be back. A lot of people have reached out and said that they love seeing us back and in the new studio. So today's episode is going to be a lot of fun, though.
I am so excited. I have so many questions for this guy. We might go for like 3 or 4 hours.
It's like a Morgan record all over again. You know, last time we had been on the show was, I think, July of a few years ago. And at that time, he had 3 number ones in like a 5-week span between Jake Owen, Dylan Scott, and Lee Bryce. And he's had Morgan cuts since then. He's had the new Bailey Zimmerman. We're going to talk all about that. I'm excited to have Ben Johnson on the show today. Ben, welcome back to the Hook Podcast.
Yo, glad to be here. What's up, boys?
We are good, man. It's been a while. We haven't seen you in a minute. I think the last time we saw you was at the Covenant round.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite stories, by the way, because I about peed myself. So as some people know, Ben works with Ashley Gorley, and we were big Ashley Gorley fans. And at the end of the night, Ben was like, hey, these are my friends. And I was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
You're so nervous.
Yeah, that's right. That was at the, I think it's called the Country. That place has changed names a bunch of times, but yeah, that's been a minute. It's been too long.
It has been too long. We're gonna be in town in November, and we were looking forward to seeing you. But
perfect. Yeah,
man,
hit me up.
Absolutely, man. We're so excited to catch up and see what you've been up to. And I know I want to dive into all the stuff you're doing with your sisters and all the new stuff you've had going on. But what's new in the personal life? What have you been up to? You've been all over the place.
Jeez. Yeah, you're not lying. Like I just got back yesterday and I was looking at my calendar. This is the most I've ever traveled. I think since the last week of June, I've been home for 3 days. So whatever, in the last 2 months, if you don't know what day it is, I guess whenever this drops. But yeah, in the last 2 months, 3 days in Nashville. So that's not enough for me. I'm like, I got to stay here for a while. So I'm here for a few weeks now. So that's good. But yeah, I mean, it's been, especially with the Netflix show, just added a bunch of travel and moving around and doing promo for that, and then had a couple camps, but all good things. It's that's part of the dream. So no complaints.
I want to kick things off with your Netflix show, Hitmakers. How did that all come together? How did all of a sudden I'm scrolling through Instagram and our buddy Ben Johnson is on Netflix now? How did that all come together?
Man, yeah, I think it's been in the works a real long time. But for me, myself being on the show was very, very last minute. They had pretty much rounded the cast out, and then like a few weeks before shooting started, I think they realized they wanted somebody to represent Nashville, especially since they knew they were going to be in Nashville for part of the show, working with Shabuzi. And so, I got hit up by Harvey Mason and Britt Mason. You know, Harvey runs the Grammys and he's a producer on the show, and Britt is as well. And, they hit me up and they're just like, hey, this is crazy, but would you want to be on this show about songwriters? I mean, I always just say yes and then figure out the details, is kind of the way I live my life. So I was like, all right, that sounds fun. And, as a community, we've been trying really hard to raise the profile of songwriters for a really long time. And as y'all know, it's easier said than done. And it's hard for people to even understand what exactly we do. And then, everybody's like, wait, Justin Bieber didn't write that song. It's like you're still dealing with that, which is crazy, which is fine. I mean, that's the same thing I thought when I was in high school. I didn't know that songwriters existed. So that was something I was real excited about the prospect of the show, being able to just raise the awareness, shine a light on songwriters. And it's been a wild ride.
Has it been different when you started doing that show with the way that those guys write, being, more pop focused in comparison to the normal Nashville, have a cup of coffee, sit down, kind of kick some ideas around and come up with something and then go home? Was it different for you to kind of work in that space?
I think maybe a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're just kind of messing around with things until you find something cool, And I think the main difference between pop and country writing would be a lot of times in country, we have the concept first, and in pop, that's maybe a little more rare. They kind of go off vibes more. You'll do some passes of just gibberish, just trying to find great melodies. It's very much about vibe and melody. And then country probably is a little more about just concept, making sure there's something interesting to say. But for the show, at least, the hardest part was like, you have 4 cameras in the room, and I think on the show it said we had 6 hours, but we really had less than that. They said 6 hours because it seemed too easy if they said we had 3 hours, but we really only had 3 hours. And then it was like 3 hours to not only write the song, but to record it, produce it, mix it, and then present it. It's like, I don't care who you are. That's pretty insane. And then like we weren't really allowed to go back and like edit the song afterwards. It was like that was it. So then you're like, all right, cool. I'm gonna be in 190 countries in a song I write in 3 hours with people I just met for artists I don't even I don't know how to write an Usher song. Like I don't even know Usher. So that was that was hard. That was kind of crazy. But the hardest thing of the reality show is just the reality part. Like writing in the room is a little more comfortable. But I mean, obviously, I've never been on a reality show. That was like, you wake up, you eat a bowl of cereal in the morning. There's 4 cameras spinning around you, and you're like, I no longer know how to eat cereal. I feel like an insane person. Like so that was a wild thing.
How big of a challenge was it not having other country writers in those rooms with you during that show? Because yeah, it does say 6 hours, but now 3 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were working to the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. The lack of country writers didn't really bother me that much. Like I said, it's like everybody in the show was truly very talented. So, a lot of times in that kind of scenario, I kind of like the pressure. I think it focuses you, and in fact, they didn't show it on the show, but I ended up writing 2 songs every session, but because obviously, just time constraints in the show. I think they only showed 1 session that I did both of my songs. But yeah, honestly, got a lot of really cool songs. I mean, my background too, obviously I've had a lot of success in country, but like my first cut I ever had was a Charlie Puth song. And my second cut I ever had was a Justin Timberlake song. So it's not like I'm very familiar with that world. So that was not too big of an adjustment. Honestly, the reality part was the hard part, just knowing you're on camera, and I'm like, oh wow, this is going to be translated into Japanese, or whatever. I wonder how that's going to come across, like.
What was the big thing in there other than the cereal? Did you just feel like you were on the real world? Where you're just like, this is so strange to me. And was there any like cutoff of communication that you guys had?
Yeah, I did. I mean, yeah, definitely. Especially because when I got there, I didn't really know anyone. I knew Whitney Phillips, and that was it. So it's weird when you're trying to meet people and like get to know people on camera. They film pretty much from 2 a.m. or I have 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. Yeah, and I was like, I've been telling people I have like a new respect for these reality stars because it is a lot of work. Like you're like even though you're trying to be yourself, it is a performance. Like you have to stay on, and it's pretty exhausting. We do 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. we do reality, then we head to the studio, we do about 3 hours of writing, and then we go to a dinner, they'd film the dinner, we go back and do a listening party, film that, and then go back to the house and then film reality till like 1 or 2 a.m. And then do it all again the next day. It's and they said, I think they said they got like 52 hours of footage a day because they have a bunch of different camera units, and then that gets edited down to 6 30-minute episodes. So you can imagine it's like 4 weeks of filming for 6 30-minute episodes. It's like, it's wild that they can pare all that footage down, and then they kind of pick their storylines and edit it together.
Was there something in any of the episodes that made it that you were like, oh, I don't remember saying that, or it was kind of out of context, or was there anything that didn't make it that you were like, dang, that was funny, I wish that would have made it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you've seen the show, like the last episode, I have like a conference. I say confrontation. It seems very confrontational, like with Jay Hart, who's one of the writers, and Jay Hart and I actually are buddies in real life. That definitely they made seem like probably more dramatic than in real life, but I get it. It's a show. They got to make it seem dramatic. So yeah, maybe I wish it wasn't quite as dramatic as it was because I'm watching it like, oh my god. And then yeah, something that didn't make it. Yeah, I think I was just like wrote a lot of cool songs that didn't make the show, and of course, just for time reasons, it's funny, even there's an episode like where we are writing for Usher, and it's like in the show, it's like, oh, we couldn't figure out a song, our song sucked. But in real life, it's like we wrote 2 songs and our first song was good and the second song sucked, and they just cut out the first song. So, like there's things like that where you're just like, oh, well, all right.
Yeah, when they were showing the little confrontation that you had, I was like, you guys are making him worse than he needs to be. This feels like something they would do on The Bachelor or one of those reality shows.
Yeah,
But
they add the dramatic pauses,
I was like, oh my gosh, Ben's gonna fight on camera.
Yeah, all right.
What was it harder going into a write like that, or just even in general, where they're like, we want you writing for Shabuzi or Usher or John Legend? Or do you think it would have been cooler to been like, hey, us 4 are going to get in here and we're just going to write the best pop song and then we'll just see what happens? Was it kind of more challenging writing for just one artist?
No, I think it's the way to do it. If we got in there, were just like write a cool song, it would be, especially since we're all from pretty different backgrounds. I think it might have been a little tough to be like, all right, let's all get on the same page. But when you have like a palette to start with, like, all right, here's your color paint, how like generally what you're gonna paint, but rather than be like, all right, here's every color in the world. I don't know if that's a good example or not, but it's kind of like it helps. I think it's more just like maybe it's like you can those things where you're like, oh, just color in the outline, like that's more better example probably than like just create something from scratch. Yeah, but it's nice to have a direction. I think that was good.
I have to ask you about an Insta story that I had seen a few months ago, and I think a lot of people maybe missed it. But there was an Insta story of Louis Capaldi dropping you off coffee.
Oh yeah,
I have to know all about your relationship with Louis. I'm a massive fan of Louis. I think he's also hilarious.
Yeah,
amazing artist. But how did that relationship come to be, and what are y'all working on?
Let me see. I got Louis up here somewhere. Hold on, there he is. Can you see him?
Yeah,
my guy. Yeah, Louis is a great dude. It was probably, I don't know how long ago that was now, 6 months ago or something like that. And yeah, it's fun because all these pop artists are kind of waking up to Nashville now, and they all want a little slice of what we got going on here. So yeah, I did a couple of weeks with Louis, and man, it's such a down to earth, humble, incredibly talented dude. And I think he's got a new project coming out, and I think one of the songs is going to be on there. But yeah, I mean, he's everything you want him to be. There's another great video I have of him trying a peanut butter and jelly for the first time, and which is a crazy video. I don't know if I've been back and forth. I'm like, should I post that or not? Or is that like an invasion of privacy? It's like he's mind blown. He'd never eaten a peanut butter and jelly in his life. I did not put mayonnaise in it. It's a regular peanut butter and jelly. But I'll send y'all that video at least. You'll get a kick out of it.
I will die. I think he's hilarious too. Like, I love watching him do candid interviews because I just feel like he just doesn't care, and he says what's on his mind, and it cracks me up. Oh, yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Ben likes mayonnaise on his peanut butter sandwiches, and it's weird, and it started a whole thing on Instagram. And it was probably the most viral clip we've ever had on this show.
Y'all should just run it back and see if anybody's tried it or changed their minds. Yeah, it's peanut butter and jelly, and you put a little bit of mayonnaise in there and then mix it up. It helps make it all blend a little better.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, didn't you try mayo on eggs in the
show? Yeah,
that
is true. That's funny. A lot of people have asked me about that.
How was it?
I mean, not great. Like
eggs on eggs. It's just eggs and oil on eggs.
It's just people weird. Were like, it's just like aioli. I'm like, I don't know. It feels weird.
No,
I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's a little strange. Yeah. Man, it's been so long since we've talked to you, and I was looking back, thinking about all the songs you've had, either cuts or hits since we've had you on the last time. And I think we were just coming off a new truck the last time that you were here.
Which, by the way, I got the new truck shirt on.
Hey, I like it.
I was at Dylan Scott's concert recently, and I was like, I'm not going to buy any merch. I got too much merch. Then I see a new truck shirt up there. I was like, well, I got to support the homies. So I was like, I got to buy that shirt.
Dude, I love it. He's got great merch. It's funny. I wore the new truck sweatshirt on Hitmakers for an episode, and I didn't even think about it. And then when the show was about to come out, they're like, oh, we didn't clear this like, can you get in touch with his camp and like see if they're cool with it? So I had to text him. I was like, hey man, are you good if this sweatshirt's on this Netflix show? And he was like, dude, what the heck is happening right now? He was like, yeah, sure. I was like, all right.
Well, after the show, I went back and was chatting with him. I go, hey man, anytime you need a hit song, you call Hunter or Ben, and they got you covered. He's like, you know those guys? I'm like, I love those guys.
Yeah. He's a good guy. I like him a lot.
I want to jump into Truck Bed.
Oh wow.
Because, you know, I think that was one of the next ones that you had after that run you guys had that summer. And it's funny because we had the non-heavy version of Truck Bed on
Oh, you
the air
did?
for a
Okay,
while.
yeah.
Yeah. And when that stuff happens, is that one of those things you're like, oh, dang, that kind of stinks? And how did that song come to be with it being such a radio hit, but also the breakdown is crazy heavy?
Yeah, you nailed it. That song we had a lot of back and forth on. So a really fun song. It was just, Ashley Gorley, Hunter, Hardy, and me. We call it the Dream Team. We've written a bunch of hits together, and we do these camps like twice a year. And that was just, I think it was the last song we did at one of the camps. And I remember I was like really sick, and I think we were all kind of tired. And it was just like Hardy was just like, play a weird track, because he was like, I don't want to do something normal. Let's just do something weird. And I played that track where I'd played that guitar riff and the weird whistle thing. That's me whistling. It's kind of crazy, but yeah. And honestly, it fell out so fast. He was like, I've had this title for years, and he'd had the title. We've written a lot of truck songs too. I was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, we've written like new truck, old truck, somebody else's truck, big truck in a small town, like, and then just like,
You were in the back of a
yeah,
truck?
just truck. You remember that from his first album, just truck.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, we have a lot of success writing truck. But he's like, I've had this title on my phone for years, Truck Bed. And yeah, that all happened so fast, like a lot of the good ones do. And we got to the end, and I remember saying, like, we should just go crazy at the end here, because he was working on the rock album, right? And so in my head, I was like, we need to try to get on the rock album, I don't want this to live in like this weird space. So we did the crazy breakdown, and of course he was all for it. So we did the crazy breakdown, and then afterwards, I remember driving home and thinking to myself, like, I might have just absolutely screwed us out of like a bunch of money, because I was like, and y'all know in the game, I was like, there's no way radio will ever play this song now. And I actually got really depressed when the song came out, and they had it, because we started texting. I was like, yeah, actually, maybe take the part at the end out. Like, I started thinking like, did I just mess it up? And so then he was like, no, I love it. I'm keeping it in there. So I think they did end up making a version for some stations to play, like y'all just said, that didn't have the breakdown. And then what's cool is a lot of stations just ended up playing the breakdown anyway. So all that to say, I think it's like, I think a lesson learned from it is just like, just make the coolest song possible. Like, don't even worry about the rules. And that's definitely one of those where, especially if you go to his show, like everybody's waiting for that part, like that's the best part of the song, in my opinion now. So yeah, all's well that ends well, but that was like, I did lose some sleep at nights worrying if I just screwed everybody out of a radio hit.
Did in the room when you guys got to the at least I took my boots off this time, was that like something that he was sitting on, or was that when it came out you guys went, oh, that's the song, that's it right there?
I mean, yeah, that was definitely his line. I would never presume to like present a lyric like that, because it's very inside, his brand and stuff. But as soon as he did that, his face like lit up, and I was like, that's perfect. And I was like, that's the perfect segue to go to this new section, Man, he's so talented. He's one of one, and he's the only person who can pull that song off. And obviously one of my oldest friends in Nashville and oldest co-writers. So any kind of success we get to have together, but especially with him winning as an artist, like when we all started writing, he wasn't even an artist. So it's been cool over the years. We wrote Give Heaven Some Hell, and we're like, who's going to sing this? it wasn't like, oh, it's a Hardy song. You know, it was like, and it's been cool. Like as time's gone on, now we go, oh, we want Hardy to win now versus giving it to somebody else a lot of times.
What's it like going into a room writing with Hardy these days? Is it like we don't know what's going to happen because he's got this rock stuff, he's got maybe a little twist of hip hop in it, straight country? Like, is it kind of like we don't know what to expect today?
Yeah, I mean, Hardy's background is so diverse. Like he grew up listening to all sorts of stuff from, you know, hip hop to rock to whatever. And so, I mean, that's what's amazing about him as an artist is like he truly doesn't care about labels and he doesn't care about anybody labeling him. So, yeah, I mean, we write pop songs together. We write, you know, we write songs for like features and stuff. Like we do all sorts of weird stuff, and I don't know. That's why he's amazing. Is because he can do anything.
I want to go back a little further in recent years. Nate Smith, you guys put out Bulletproof.
Mm.
And I know World on Fire was like number one for like 8 weeks, but I kept saying when I was on the air, my favorite Nate Smith song is Bulletproof.
Oh,
And then I look up who's writing it, the top 4. We call them the Dream Team as always.
yeah.
How did that song come together? Did you guys have Nate in mind on that? Did you have someone else in mind? Or did Nate was like, I'm just going to cut that?
Yeah, Nate's amazing. I love him as a person and an artist. No, we didn't have anyone in mind. We wrote that I think in like 2020 or 2021. It's like a really old song. And part of what makes Nate amazing is he can like hear songs that he can make his own, you know? And which all the best artists do, by the way, you know, from Tim McGraw to Kenny Chesney to Morgan, you know, they go, hey, we just want the best song. And it's, you know, that fits the brand and that moves the career. And, you know, even Nate, you know, you can even see with like the song he did with Alesso or whatever, you know, he's not afraid to take chances and make things his own. But yeah, honestly, like those are the moments as a songwriter that are really special, or when you get a song that you kind of think is left for dead. Because, you know, that song had been around 3 years or so, at least. And then it's resuscitated. And not only resuscitated, becomes a big old hit. So yeah, I always tell writers and maybe just people in life, it's like you can't really judge your work at the end of the day a lot of times. Like, you know, if we had judged our work that day at the end of a month or at the end of the year, we would just think we were failures, you know? So I try to disassociate results from process as much as I can. So just write cool songs and then just like on to the next one instead of like, you know, stressing over, you know, what happens with it. A lot of my favorite songs are still on my hard drive. A lot of songs I forgot about and thought I didn't do very well are hits now. So that's a good lesson for me. But yeah, I'm pumped that people love that song, and that was a big one for him.
One of my favorite songs that we're playing right now is Bar None. And I'm a massive Jordan Davis fan. I love the first Jordan Davis record is one of my favorite records that's came out in the last 10 years or so. And I love this kind of back to the OG Jordan Davis sound.
Mm-hmm.
And the record's out now, but I remember hearing Bar None for the first time. And before I even looked at the credits, I was like, Banner Hunter is involved in this just based on the phrasing.
Yeah.
How did that song fall out? Because your guys' crew that you wrote that with is some of my favorite writers in town right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny, like Hunter and I always are like, we probably should write more. Like our batting average is kind of crazy, but it's kind of, you know, our writing connection was built over years. You know, I produced his artist project back in the day, and we did all 2 ways on that. So we wrote for years just us two, and then sometimes Hardy would jump in or Ashley or whoever, but like we were very consistent writing just us two. So we have like such a good foundation of like trust in each other, where I think sometimes when you're writing, you're like trying to prove yourself to people, you know, you're like, oh, let me show them like how good I am. But like, we don't have any of that because we already know that we're like, I know he's dope and he knows I'm dope. Like, we don't have anything to prove. And I think that makes it really special. Lydia Vaughn, that was my first write with her. I think it was Hunter's as well, but she's amazing. And it was definitely one of those days. Sometimes I get a little like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, there's no artist today. Like, what are we even doing? Just writing a song, you know? Like, sometimes it feels like you're just throwing them in the wind. But that was such a special day, man. It's just like, you never know. Shout out to Lydia. She brought in that title and that concept, this is a funny story. I don't know if anybody's told it, but I immediately go, that's a hit concept, right? And Hunter goes, I don't get it. And I was like, what do you mean you don't get it? He's like, I've never heard of that phrase, bar none. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. That's a common phrase. And he's like, no, I've never heard it. I said, well, let's call Hardy and see if he's heard of it. So we called Hardy, and Hardy goes, I ain't never heard of that. And so I was like,
Well, I've never heard of it either.
yeah. So it actually turns out, I thought everybody knew it. It's probably like 50% of people knew it. So then I said, well, we got to write this in a way where if you've never heard the phrase, it doesn't matter. So we wrote it in a way where even if you weren't familiar with that phrase, it's still cool. So that's the way we ended up writing it. And I love that song so much. And then it wasn't long before I think Blaine. It's funny, I know Jordan. Jordan's like one of my first artists I ever wrote with in town, actually, which is crazy enough. There's a song that we wrote called I Met My Wife in a Bar, which is amazing. He used to play it like at some backstage shows. We got to get him to release that one. It's about how he met his wife. It's insane. But I was like pumped when I heard he dug it, because the same thing you were saying a second ago, I was like, this would be a really cool, like, this moves his career forward, but also like it's a little bit of nod to like where he's come from, like sound wise. So I was really pumped when I heard he was doing it, and he sounds incredible on it.
We'll get to a couple more number ones in just a second, but I have to know, you're on the new Dustin Lynch album, Kill the Cowboy.
Yeah.
Me and Brailey sat here and talked when that album came out, because we're such big Dustin Lynch fans. We literally said, we did a whole special on that album, said this is the best album of the entire year in country music, we thought.
Yeah.
And one song, tons of the songs stood out, and I want to get to Honky Tonk Heartbreaker in a second, but one that I feel like is the most underrated song in the past 2 or 3 years, Listen to the Radio, because there's so many cool concepts.
Yeah.
How did that come together? And please don't leave out any details.
Man, it's funny. Like, I remember you text me about that song. I remember you loving that song. I love that song too. It was my first write ever with Dustin. And Hunter obviously had worked with Dustin a bunch. And so I was like, I called Hunter before, and I was like, hey, just kind of like let me know what to expect or whatever. And he was kind of telling me, he's like, he's a great writer. It'll be chill. He's a good dude. And so I said, well, let's go over like some concepts. And Hunter had thrown out that idea to me before. Actually, we always do preps for like all these sessions. So sometimes he and I just get together and just like throw ideas back and forth. And so he had told me that idea, and we had actually maybe tried writing it a couple times and like never quite figured it out. And so I was like, dude, let's write that concept again, because I think it's so cool, and I could hear him singing that. And so he brought it in, and then we actually struggled for a while to write it because we couldn't figure out the right vibe. And I never told anybody this. Well, no one's ever asked me about this song either, so that's probably why. But I remembered a track I had made like 7 years before, and it was so old it wasn't even on my laptop. I had to go like into my closet in our like studio closet and pulled out my old like Mac Tower and like took it in the other room and like booted it up. I was like, I wonder if this thing even works. And like, like booted it up, found the track on my ancient GarageBand, printed the track out, and I was like, hey, we should write it to this. And we wrote the whole thing in like 30 minutes.
I sit there and will still sing that song. If it comes on in my Spotify playlist, I'm like, nope, this is one of those songs I'm never turning it. I've made that a rule in my car. And anyone that gets in the car, it's like, do not touch that song.
That's funny. Half of the song streams might be from you then.
How many 90s song references are in there? Do you remember?
Shoot, man, I don't.
I counted 11.
Yeah, we definitely. At one point, we had even more, and then I think we were like, well, this is probably too many. We got to get rid of a few.
I think the lyric that I didn't catch the first time was, I think it was We Caught a Little Buzz thanks to Creole Williams. And it took me like the third time I listened to it. And I was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
And I do, everybody's done those. And there's certain artists who have done them multiple times where they're referencing stuff. And
Sure.
I'm like, okay, I like these, but I'm kind of ready for something new. And then I heard that one. I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that one a lot.
Well, you're right. Those songs have been done before. And then when he singled Chevrolet, I was like, well, that's not going to be a single. I was like,
I thought that was weird too. I mean, and I'm a massive Dustin fan. I think their
Yeah.
whole camp is great. And I think
Yeah.
he's one of the best guys in country. Like, if you just run into him, and
Yeah,
their
for sure.
live show is phenomenal. I don't know how people don't realize that show is up there in the top 5 or 10 shows in country. But,
Mhm.
Kev mentioned Killed the Cowboy, and I'm like, that whole record I love, and Honky Tonk Heartbreaker, because we saw Dustin actually the week the record came out.
Yeah.
And he played a show here in town, and we were with Ben Williams.
Yeah.
And I asked Ben, I was like, hey, did you talk to Colin? How many new songs they put in? He's like, they're definitely playing Honky Tonk Heartbreaker. And when he played it live, I went, yeah, that's a DL song. Like, no question. It doesn't matter if he was a part of it or not. That's a DL song. How did that whole thing come about?
Oh yeah, that one broke my heart because I was like, that's a big song, and then for whatever reason, I think Chevrolet just took so long to go. By the time it went, it was just like too late to do another song on that record. That was supposed to be. They filmed a music video for it and everything. That was the next single. Yeah,
Kevin's head leaned back, just sad over here.
Like,
Yeah.
I would love to see that music. I am so heartbroken from that album.
Oh, believe me, I am too. Even though I did end up getting his next single, but to me, that was like such a huge song. I mean, credit to Dustin, like he had that entire chorus. He wrote that entire chorus melody and everything. And Zach Crowell had the idea. I think the reference was like, he's like, we should do a song like Achy Breaky Heart. He was like, let's do something like throwback like that. That song was so fun to write. And then, I got to co-produce it with Zach, which was so much fun. There's like the little 808 drop at the end for no reason, except just to like scare people in their trucks or whatever. Yeah, I love that song so much. And it's funny, even to this day, people bring that song up to me like more than almost any other song, just about how it's such a, like that one maybe just missed a little bit.
And we got to see him at Red Rocks earlier this year, and he played it. And they recorded the whole thing. I don't know what they've done with it. Randomly, I got in my car a couple weeks ago, and it was on Sirius. They were playing it in full.
Oh,
but the 808 drop there was phenomenal. Like, it was great. And we were like right in front of house, and we were having a great time. And we may have looked like fools because we were just singing and dancing and having a good old time. But
that's good.
The 808 drop in Red Rocks was awesome.
Heck yeah. I love to hear
it. In that song, I have a feeling when I first heard it, I was like, I feel like this is a Ben thing. When you guys say singing along some Sweet Caroline, and you go, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Was that you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That line was my idea, and the idea to throw that in there. I was a little worried. I was like, are they going to freaking try to sue us if we put that in? I was a little worried. I was like, maybe I ruined the song again by doing whatever. But no, that was my idea. That's a nice catch.
How did Easy to Love come together by Dustin Lynch?
So me and John Hall, John Hall's actually signed to me, incredible writer. We wrote In the Bible on Morgan's album. We've written a bunch of other songs together. Yeah, he's a great writer. But he and I do a lot of Zoom. So he lives in LA, and so he and I were Zooming back in January. And in the midst of this Zoom, we just kind of like threw that idea out, and then kind of finished writing another song. And then when we got together, Zach hit me up and was like, hey, we're gonna do a Dustin camp. And he was kind of telling me about the new direction, and I was like, immediately thought of that. So I sent him just like this terrible voice memo, and he was like, this is sick. So then I went in and recorded kind of like all that gospel choir stuff, or not it's not really gospel choir, but it's kind of like, I would say like 80s kind of choir thing over it. And so that when Dustin came in, I could play it for him, and just kind of played him that chorus, and he dug it. And then, you know, he had the idea to try to write like very Jimmy Buffett type verses. You know, he's such a beach dude too, so it was like kind of made sense to make it that vibe, like the Key West vibe, which I think is where he shot the music video. So yeah, that's kind of how that song happened. A bit in pieces, you know, kind of put it together. But yeah, it's a fun one. I really like that one.
Man, I can't continue on without talking about the stuff that you're doing with your sisters
Mm.
and to talk about one of the biggest songs that everybody always mentions to me. When somebody asks me, they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm like, "I work in country radio." And they're like, "I love this Bailey Zimmerman Big X the Plug song." And I was like, "A friend of mine wrote that." And it was funny because I had hit you up a couple of months ago and I was like, "Hey, man, when you guys wrote that, did you write verses to it?" And you were
Yeah.
like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I want to hear it at some point," because Sean Patrick and I, our music director here, we were in the truck and he's like, "I really want to play this, but I don't know if it fits, but I love the choruses." And I said, "Well, I'm going to text Ben." And then I saw that you guys were going to put it out and I immediately hit you up. I was like, "Hey man, I need that." And your team sent it to me immediately.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, "Yep, that's kind of what I expected." But
yeah.
you know, how did that song come about and get to Big X? And then with you and your sisters, this is one of the first few that you guys are putting out of songs that you guys have written that have been on other artists.
Yeah, that one's a special one, you know, like if people don't know, I moved here with my sisters like 11 years ago to Nashville from Mississippi. And yeah, we kind of have been through all the different phases of the industry. Like when we moved here, we were like a bluegrass band. So I mean, obviously it's evolved. I think we didn't even know songwriting was a thing, you know. But man, we've written lots of songs together. So this one was special because it's like the first number one we got to write, and not only wrote, but we wrote it by ourselves, you know. So we wrote the chorus by ourselves. People of TikTok get mad and they're like, "Y'all didn't write Big X's part," and we're like, "No, yeah, we didn't write Big X's rap." Like,
I love the haters on TikTok because you know I saw you guys post that and they were like, "You didn't write this," and you were like, "Yeah, we definitely did." And the other one that sticks out to me is, and I know that you know Chris LaCourte and his wife had posted a video. I don't know if you saw this, but Court posted a video and she said, "When your husband goes to write one day and writes a spicy song about your relationship," and she was playing 20 cigarettes.
oh yeah,
And somebody was like, "Post proof next time your husband ain't nobody," or something like that. And I'm like, you could go listen to our podcast because
yeah.
we're going to
Yeah.
talk about it.
Well, that's the whole kind of going back to the beginning. It's like, man, we got to raise the awareness that songwriters exist, especially as we're trying to fight for like some, you know, some better rights for us, you know, in Washington. It's like, well, I think the first step might be just to let people know that we exist, you know, like, so yeah, it is funny. People get of the people of TikTok get kind of aggressive for whatever reason, but yeah, really, really special song. We just wrote it. Actually wrote the whole thing like honestly in 30 minutes. I know not every hit song comes about quickly, but a lot of them do. And we were actually trying to write something else that day, and Jenna came in with that concept, and I was just like, shoot, we gotta try to knock that out real quick. And so, yeah, we wrote it real quick, and then I guess I can say this now because I saw X just talked about it on a podcast. So I his A&R, I'm trying to remember. Somebody reached out and was just like, "Hey, do you have any hooks for this artist, Big X?" And I knew Big X. I was already a fan. Actually, I think Charlie Handsome showed him to me, like a couple years ago, and so I was like very familiar. And I was like, "Heck yeah!" And I was like, "Well, shoot, we wrote this song literally yesterday." So I was like, it was just the top song in my iTunes or whatever, you know. Like I was like, I'll just send that one. So I took the verses out, knowing obviously that he didn't need sung verses, and sent it to him. And then like he put his verse on it very quickly, and then sent it to Morgan. And Morgan was like, "Yeah, sick. I'm gonna do this." So for a while, it's gonna be Morgan and Big X.
Wow.
Yeah, which obviously would have been crazy. And I didn't talk about that for a long time, but I just saw X said that yesterday. So and it was even funny, like I saw an interview with Morgan, I think it was like Theo Vaughn. He was like, "Oh yeah, me and X were like supposed to do a song." And then he like realizes that he's about to talk about All the Way, which had already come out, and so he like pivots and like, I don't know what happened. So yeah. So yeah, it was wild. Like I don't know, like I don't want to speak for Morgan, so I don't know why he didn't end up doing it, but it kind of went around after for whatever reason, he didn't do it. And then I was with Jelly out on the road like last September finishing his album. And Jelly didn't even know I wrote it. And he was like, listen to this song. He like plays it for me. He's like, dude, this is a hit. I was like, bro, I know I wrote it. He was like, what? It was really funny. And so he was like, man, he's like, I need to sing this. I was like, yeah, dude, you should sing it. And then like for whatever reason, he didn't end up doing it. You know, it was like it went around the block to the point where I was like, I know this song's a hit. I just feel like maybe no one's ever gonna do it. And there's a whole nother crazy story I won't even get into because it might take too long. But yeah, thankfully Brailey ended up doing it, and he sounds incredible on it. And I know X said this, that he was like happy it ended up being Brailey because it like helped both of their careers. And he was like, if it was Morgan, it probably would have just been like, this is a hit because Morgan's on it. So not that Bailey's not already a huge artist and super successful, but I think at least in X's mind, it was like, oh, cool. Like it's really helpful for Brailey because he's never had a hit like that, and it's helpful for X. So yeah, I mean that one's been wild to see like just take off. I mean, it's gonna probably end up being one of my biggest songs. So I'm super, super grateful to be on it with my sisters. And then, like you said, we released our own version. We're just kind of having fun, releasing some random stuff. That's why our band's called Why Not. It's just kind of like, yeah, why not? Just release some stuff and see what happens. So yeah, we released it. So if you want to hear the full version, like with the verses, yeah, you can go to Why Not and hear the whole thing.
Well, you brought up Morgan, and I want to go back to his previous album. We did 3 hours breaking that whole album down.
Man, yeah.
Because that's how long it takes to listen to that album. But
it does, yeah.
There was one song on there, Single Than She Was. And again, still one of my favorite songs off that album. I think it should have been a single. And the reason I know it was such a powerful song or a good song, I was hanging out with a friend one night and she was like, I go, did you listen to the album? She's like, yeah, this song's Single Than She Was, because she loves sour beers. And then you guys put that sour part in there. How did that song really come together? Because that's such a cool concept. Like, yeah, she's still with this guy, but after me, she's a little more single now.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Appreciate you saying that. I really like that song too. And I got to write, John Byron, one of my oldest friends in town. We've been writing literally since before either of us had anything going on. We wrote songs for years. We wrote once a week for probably like 6 or 7 years or something like that before we had our first cut. Like I took him around every publisher in town after I got a publishing deal and was like, this dude's the truth. Like y'all need to sign him. Yeah, it's been fun to see his career take off. Like I'm so proud of him. If people don't know who he is, he wrote Last Night and a bunch of other Morgan songs. But yeah, this was kind of, he had written 865, right, at this point. So he was kind of like in the Morgan camp. And then we were with Charlie Handsome, who Morgan's producer, and funnily enough, Charlie came in and was like, I was at this bar last night, and he was like, and I saw this girl, and we were just talking about it, and he's like, and I told somebody like that she's a little more single than she was. He like said the title or whatever like to somebody, and I was like, dude, that's an incredible title. We should just write that. And he's like, well, how should we do it? I was like, we should do it exactly how you said it. So it's funny, like he just kind of said the whole title like in a conversation, I think. Man, it's been a minute now since we wrote it. I wish I remembered more about it, but I do remember he had that. I think it was like at Red Door, like it was like a conversation.
Of course it was at Red Door.
Yeah.
Of course it was at Red Door.
Yeah.
There is some stories about Red Door. We've ended up at Red Door before.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night at 3 a.m. with all sorts of people who and Wiz Khalifa randomly.
Yeah.
I don't really know why, but that's what happens at Red Door. And then you go eat a hot dog across the street.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Red Door is definitely like one of the spots.
Oh, for sure. We just don't tell people that. We call it Green Window. So we just keep it secret. We don't want people mentioning songs. We don't want any of that.
That's funny.
We've got a lot more that we can go through. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to touch on a couple more things real quick. A song that I noticed the other day, and I'm a massive Old Dominion fan. I got a chance, and I think I've told the story on the show before, but I got a chance to see Old Dominion before the first record came out. They did a songwriter festival in Deadwood, South Dakota, which is 20 minutes from my hometown, and they were the Thursday night headliner. And I think
That's
Break Up
great.
With Him was like kind of making waves, but wasn't out yet. And they sat down, and that was the first writers round I had ever seen. And they played, I mean, Guy Walks Into a Bar and Save It for a Rainy Day. And I mean,
Right.
they were just playing the hits all night. And then they got up on stage and played the first record front to back with
Wow.
their hits.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I love this band. And I love their production. I love their phrasing. It's just one of my favorite bands. But you have a song on their brand new record from last week. Can you go into that and how that kind of gets into the Old Dominion camp? Because those guys, you know, they're a lot like Hardy and Morgan, where there's not a lot of outside influence with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are phenomenal writers, and so they definitely have and will continue to write most of their songs like by themselves because they're great writers. I think, man, I don't remember how we all got in the room, but for whatever reason, it was Brad. Who all? I'm trying to remember who all was there now. It's been a minute. Brad, Trevor, and Matt. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, they're amazing. I'd never worked with any of them, and then it was us and Ashley. And Brad had that whole concept of Sip in the Right Direction, and it fell out really quickly. And the original demo was actually like very, uh, it was almost more like a Morgan song. It was very like kind of trap pop country. It was pretty sick. And then on the record, they kind of obviously get in the studio and make it more like quirky and kind of their thing. But yeah, like you said, I'm a huge Old Dominion fan, so that was like a really cool one for me.
Now, before we go, I have to ask, Liar, Jelly Roll, I'm guessing that was a fun write.
Yeah, yeah. It was a fun write, man. It's crazy. Like, I literally was in LA, and Zach Crowell called me. Shout out to Zach for calling me, and he was like, "Hey," he said, "we're at this Jelly Roll camp in Franklin. Can you be there tomorrow morning?" He was like, "I can't make it tomorrow morning. Could you take my place?" And I was like, "Sure." So I literally got on a red eye. I flew back like that night and got in kind of the next morning vibe. It was like something crazy. And drove out to Franklin, and yeah, like I remember Ashley called me when I was on the way because he and I like to like debrief before writes and kind of, you know, yap about what we think artists should do. And I don't remember why he said it, but he was like, "I feel like we should just write a song called Liar," which is kind of crazy because he didn't like have an angle on it or anything. He was just like, "I could see Jelly Roll with that title, and I think it's a hit." And I was like, "Dude, all right, if you say it, like it probably is. Like you've written a million hits." Like, and then I got in a little early and like built up that track. And then I think one of my favorite things of that song, like where it kind of all fell together, was when I did like the whole choir on it. So like it's funny, a lot of people have asked like, "Oh, like who sang that choir?" And it's like it's just me. Like I just got in a room after we wrote it and I pretended like I was like 18 different people. And I just like sang every single part like over and over until it sounded like huge. So yeah, I think like that's one of my favorite parts of that song is just like hearing the whole choir of me.
One
But
more I want to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, it was a fun write. Yeah, it was good. This was my first day meeting Jelly, and then yeah, we've gone on to write a bunch of songs since then. So
Do you have a good Jelly Roll story? We had Michael Whitworth on, and he told us about the first time that he ever wrote with Jelly Roll. And he told this amazing story that Bayless called him at like 1:00 and
yeah.
told him to come in. And he was like, "I'm sending you the track. You got to write it right now." And then bring it in. He walks in, and Jelly Roll's like, "What you got?" And and he does a great Jelly Roll impression. But do you have just a phenomenal Jelly Roll story?
I don't know about phenomenal. I mean, those guys go crazy with him too. So I'm like, I don't have that much history with him. I remember like this was kind of a funny one. Was like we were on his tour trying to finish his album up last year. It was like 2 weeks before the album came out, so we went out last second just trying to like get a few more songs, and we ended up getting a couple. And I remember I had this one song I played for him. I had started right, and it was like a verse and a chorus. Um, and I play it for him. He goes, "Big Ben, play it again." You know, it's funny. He called me Big Ben a long time, and so I played it again. He's like, "Ooh," he's like, "Boys, this one's special." And we're like, "Yeah, like let's go. You know, like let's do it." He's like, "I'm gonna go get a guitar. I'll be right back." And like we're in the arena, like set up or whatever, and he leaves and never saw him again. It was like, I don't know what happened. He probably just got pulled a million different directions when he walked out the door. But it's funny, like we were working on the new album now at Orlando, and I was kind of like, hey, remember that song you really liked last time that you never came back? I was like, I still got it if you want to write it now. So we ended up writing it for his new album.
We did this with Ben Williams last week, and this is not a bit of the show, but can you give me like if you won an award, your Jelly Roll acceptance speech?
I mean, Theo Von did the best one, right?
Between Theo Von and Michael Rotundo and Michael Ray driving around in Midtown yelling it out the window was very entertaining as well.
Oh man, that's pretty good. Yeah. Basically, just it is funny going to his show. You're just like, I feel like I'm watching like a crazy Baptist preacher. It's wild. He just preaches in between every song, and it's sick. But oh man, I don't know if I could do that justice. I'll let Ben Williams have that one.
Perfect.
I don't want you to clip me. I know how you guys do. Y'all are gonna clip the one thing from this podcast. Last time it was PB&J. You ain't getting me this time.
I love it. I'm clipping that. Between that and Ben Williams last week saying that he was not thinking about Morgan Wallen when he wrote 6 months later with Megan was pretty funny.
That's pretty good.
One song I want to hit on before we get you out of here, man, is Hardy and Nate Smith, Nobody Likes Your Girlfriend. I'm hoping that it gets some run. It reminds me of one of those songs like when, there's those funny, quirky songs like Hunter had with Brantley and Hardy.
Oh, yeah.
And, that song still cracks me up. But and to end up with Kevin James in the video is funny. But how does that funny song come to be?
Man, I hope that gets a run too. It's funny. Sometimes these songs, just based on when they're released in like album or single cycles, affects it. So it kind of came out in a weird time, like in Nate's single cycle. So we'll see. But love that song. Another old one. I think we wrote it during COVID. Me, Hunter, Hardy, and Jesse Joe, I believe, was the crew on that one. And that's the fun thing about writing with Hardy, man. Like I think 99.9% of writers would be like, this idea is a little whack, like let's do something more down the middle. But when Hardy hears ideas like that, it lights him up. He loves writing the weird things that no one else could do. And for a long time, I thought he might release that. And for whatever reason, it just like kept not happening for his records. And then he played it for Nate, and Nate was like, this is amazing. Like, we got to do this together. So, yeah, that was fun. And then see Kevin James in the video, I was like, how in the world did that happen? I think Hardy, I texted Hardy. I can't remember what he said. I think he said, like, Nate met him, like, at a show or something and was just like, hey, do you want to be in a video next week? And he was like, sure.
I heard it, and I was like, I'm going to send this to a friend of mine outside of a group text and be like, hey, man, should we send this to our other buddy?
Yeah. That was our hope, is that a lot of people would kind of relate to it in that way and kind of send it around to their buddies.
It's funny. It cracks me up every time.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a while since we've had you on the first time, but I got to know, new music's already been out for the last couple of years. Is there a song out there right now that you wish you had written?
Oh,
like some from some of the most recent songs?
I mean, yeah, like a lot of them. I wish I wrote. I definitely wish I wrote freaking why can't I remember? Oh, What I Want. I think that song's amazing. I remember John Byron played it. We play these writers rounds together all the time, and we were down in Orlando playing a writers round. And I was like, hey, play me like your favorite song that you wrote for the new Morgan record. And he played it for me. I was like, you son of a bitch. Like, that's so simple, so good. Like, it's funny that the songs that kind of I wish I wrote are all the really, really simple ones. Like, writing simple songs is really, really hard. Like, in making it not too simple to where it's just like stupid. So those are like catching lightning in a bottle. That's definitely one that I feel like I was like, dang, I wish I wrote that.
Do you have anything coming up that you can talk about? Give us a little sneak peek on something.
Oh shoot, man, I don't know. It's funny. I don't even know what I did yesterday, and I have no idea what I'm doing next week. What have I been doing? I don't even know if I've been doing anything. No, I've been doing a bunch of stuff like obviously the new Jelly Roll record, I think it's going to be really good. We're definitely pushing the boundaries on that. Like, I think people are going to, I mean, who knows where it ends up, but so far so good. There's some really, really good songs in there. And then, yeah, I've been doing a lot of songs with Ryan Tedder out in LA, who's like one of my heroes, and we've been cooking up some different stuff, that some unexpected kind of combos. I can't say too much, but yeah, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That's the fun thing about songwriting, though. It's like you have songs like freaking Bulletproof that I hadn't thought about in 4 years, and suddenly somebody does it, and you're like, oh, that's sick. So yeah, obviously the new Hardy record coming out in a few weeks. Got a couple songs on there. One called Country of Me. That's kind of like, I think is really, really good. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's just every week's different. I have no idea if that answers your question or not, but
For what you can share with us.
yeah, I've got a song. It's like me posting Adele. Bruno Mars might jump on it. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
I love it. You touched on Ryan Tedder, a Denver guy, also a phenomenal songwriter. And he seems like he's been doing podcasts lately, and he tells great stories.
Oh yeah. One thing about Ryan is he never runs out of words. So or stories. Like, that dude can tell stories all day. I mean, he's lived like 15 different lives too. So yeah, anytime I get in the room with him, I'm just like, I just want to hear him talk for a while, because he kind of drops wisdom, and just like perspective, because he's done everything you can do, between One Republic and just writing, a million hits for people. So yeah, he's amazing, and it's been really, really incredible to get to work with him.
That's awesome, man. Hey, Ben, we really appreciate you jumping on with us, as always. You're like family to the show. People have been asking me, when's Ben coming back on? When's Ben coming back on? Our producer, Dan, he's brand new to the building here. And like one of his first days, we're like, hey, man, you got a new project. You get to produce our show. And Ben Johnson's going to, or actually what he said was, have you watched that show Hitmakers? And I said, actually, let me tell you a story.
That's funny, man.
Well, man, we really appreciate you. We're always rooting for you. Anytime that we can have you on and just chat and hang out, you're one of our favorite people, and we really appreciate it, man.
Right back at y'all. It's always a pleasure. It's been too long. Let's not make it this long next time.
Always great to have Ben on the show. We really appreciate you. And thank you to everybody who's reached out and said that they're happy that we're back. Kev, we are back and better than ever.
We're better than like Florida Georgia Line.
You just keep hating on Florida Georgia Line.
I couldn't help myself. It's an easy joke.
I know. If you haven't checked out last week's episode, Ben Williams on the show talked about his time writing with Megan Maroney. And coming up next week, Heath Warren, also another friend of the show.
Do you think he's still stuck between a rock and a hard place?
He might be. You can check out the Hook Podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts as well, up at 98.5kygo.com.